Microsoft just committed $1 billion to Kenya's digital ecosystem. The government launched a national AI strategy for the next 5 years. 97% of Kenya has 4G coverage. The infrastructure is here, the money is here, and the AI policy is here. And yet, only 37% of Kenyan CEOs say they have technical expertise to actually act on any of it. The gap between intention and capability is exactly what this channel exists to close. My name is Rispa Tarus, and I'm from Vertex Tech AI. If you are a business leader, a founder, or a digital transformation professional operating in Kenya or East Africa, then this series is built specifically for you. Not the Silicon Valley version of AI strategy, not the generic global framework, but the Kenyan version, the one that accounts for M-Pesa, the ODPC, Swahili NLP. In this first episode, we are going to answer the most important question a Kenyan business leader can ask right now. Are we actually ready for AI? And I promise you the honest answer is more nuanced and more encouraging than you think. But why is Kenya different? Let me start with a provocation. When most multinational consulting firms talk about AI readiness in Africa, they use frameworks built for Europe, North America, Australia, and then they translate it into African context at the last minute. You get a global maturity model with a map of Africa pasted on the cover. But that is not what we're going to do here. Kenya's AI story is not a slower version of the Western story, but it is a different story entirely. And the differences are actually advantages if you know how to read them. Let me give you 4 context facts that set Kenya apart from every other market on this continent and most markets globally. Fact 1. The leapfrog advantage. Kenya never built a robust traditional banking infrastructure. Instead, it leapfrogged straight to mobile money. M-Pesa launched in 2007. Today, it has over 40 million users. And 90% of all mobile money transactions in Kenya run through it. That is not just a payment story, it is a data story. Every transaction, every lending decision, every airtime purchase is a data point. And data is the raw material of AI. Context fact 2. The mobile native consumer. Kenya has 139% mobile penetration, more active SIM cards than people. The Kenyan consumer does not use a desktop to engage with your product. They use a phone, often a feature phone. This forces a design discipline that most Western companies do not have. Your AI has to work on low bandwidth, on USSD, on a 4-inch screen. That constraint produces leaner, more accessible products. It is not a limitation, it is a design brief. Context fact 3. The regulatory head start. Kenya enacted the Data Protection Act of 2019 before most African countries had anything comparable. The Office of the Data Protection, or the ODPC, is actively enforcing it. And in 2024 alone, 106 determinations, 60 enforcement notices, 9 penalty notices were given. That is not red tape. That is a governance foundation. And enterprises that build on it move faster and safer than those building on regulatory sand. 4. The green infrastructure edge. AI is energy intensive, and Kenya's national grid runs on 92% renewable energy, mostly geothermal power from the Rift Valley. As global ESG pressures grow, green AI infrastructure becomes a genuine competitive differentiator for enterprises headquartered here. This is not a 2030 aspiration, it exists today. Now let's put the numbers in all of this. Kenya has 5 structural AI advantages. Now let's get into the data because the numbers are the arguments. Over 40 million M-Pesa users and 90% of all Kenyan mobile money transactions. The world's richest mobile financial data set outside of China's WeChat Pay ecosystem. 40 million users generating transaction data every single day. That is credit scoring, fraud detection, and behavioral AI training data that no enterprise starting from scratch in Europe could buy at any price. Data point 3, $1 billion US. Microsoft just committed to Kenya's digital ecosystem $1 billion US, including the East Africa Cloud region, launching this year. For the first time, Kenyan enterprises can host AI workloads locally. This matters enormously for data sovereignty. Right now, many Kenyan enterprises are running their AI models on servers in South Africa, Ireland, and in the United States. The Microsoft East Africa Cloud region changes that calculation entirely. Local data can now stay locally and still run at global cloud scale. Data point number 4, over 800 active tech startups exist right now in Kenya, with over 800 million US dollars in venture funding as of 2023. This is your AI partnership ecosystem, already proven, already funded. You do not need to build your AI from scratch. Safaricom has done it in telecoms and in fintech. Apollo Agriculture has done it for smallholder farming, and Craft Silicon has done it in banking. The ecosystem already exists, and the question is whether your enterprise is already plugged into it. Data points number 5 is 92% of renewable energy in Kenya's national grid comes from geothermal power from the Rift Valley, which powers data centers with some of the lowest carbon intensity of any cloud infrastructure globally. Green AI is not a 2030 strategy. The infrastructure for it already exists here in Kenya today. And as your enterprise clients, particularly international ones, start demanding emissions reporting, running your AI on Kenya's geothermal grid is a procurement differentiator. These advantages are not theoretical future potential, they are operational today. And the question is whether you're building on them or building around them. Right now, we have a gap of investment vis-a-vis expertise, vis-a-vis intent. Now, let me be honest with you, because a channel about AI readiness that only tells you what is going well is not useful. It is just flattery, and flattery will not help you build better businesses. 75% of African CEOs express strong AI intent. They want to adopt AI. They believe it is strategically viable. They talk about it at the board level. And 26% of these CEOs believe their current investment levels are actually sufficient to implement AI at the scale they are describing. And that is a 49-point gap between what leaders say and what they are actually funding. 37% have access to the technical expertise required to execute AI projects, which means 63% of enterprises with serious AI ambitions are trying to climb a technical mountain without guides. I want to stay with that last number for a moment. 63% of Kenyan enterprises that want AI cannot find the people to build it. That is not a technology problem, but a talent pipeline problem. And talent pipelines take years to build, unless you know where to look. We will cover that in episode 8 of this series. But there is a second kind of gap that gets talked about less, and it might be the most expensive one. It is the contextualization gap. The assumption that you can buy a global AI tool, deploy it in your business, and get global results. I have spoken to enterprises who imported AI-powered customer service chatbots that do not speak in Kiswahili. Those who deployed credit scoring models trained on Western lending data that had no predictive value for M-Pesa borrowers. And those who built AI dashboards that their teams refused to use because the interface assumed laptop access. Technology failures. They are localization failures, and they are entirely preventable with the right readiness framework. Which brings us to the framework, which is the 6-phase Kenya AI Readiness Audit. So how do you actually know where you stand? Not in general terms, but specifically, what is your enterprise's AI readiness score? What are your highest priority gaps, and what should you do first? This is what the Kenya AI Readiness Audit Framework answers. We built this methodology specifically for East African enterprises and not adapted from a McKinsey global template, but built from the ground up around Kenya's regulatory environment, infrastructure realities, and market dynamics. So what are the 6 phases? Number 1, we have phase 1, we have stakeholder engagement and governance. Phase 2, we have Kenya-specific asset inventory. In phase 3, we have multi-dimensional readiness assessment. Phase 4, we have use case prioritization and localization. Phase 5, we have gap analysis and risk assessment. Phase 6, we have localized roadmap and implementation. I will not go into each one of these. You can download the framework and leave it in the comment below. You can download it and go through the 6 phases of the framework. Each of these phases gets its own dedicated episode in series 3 of this AI audit readiness. But for today, what matters is this. The reason most AI implementations fail in Kenya is not that the technology does not work. It is that the organization was not ready for the technology. The 6-phase audit changes that. What are the action steps that you can begin to take as of today? I want to end every episode with something that you can actually do. Not think about AI strategy, but a specific time-bound action. And this week, I want you to do 3 things. 3 action items. Number 1, make sure that you have ODPC registration check. Action point number 2 is M-Pesa data audit. Action point number 3 is to download the Kenya National AI Strategy. To wrap up this episode today is to let you know that Kenya's AI moment is not coming, but is already here. The Microsoft investment has already been confirmed. The National AI Strategy has been published, and the ODPC is already enforcing, and the infrastructure is being built in real time. The only question left is whether your enterprise will be ready when the window opens, or whether you'll be watching someone else walk through that window. If this was useful, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and in the description below, you'll find the link to the Kenya AI Readiness Checklist, the 12-point self-assessments you can run on your organization beginning this week. No email required, just download and use it. Thanks for watching. See you in episode 2.